Welcome to Boss Up Goddess. I'm Elizabeth Ann Atkins, and I interview trailblazing women who help us all live bigger, better, and bolder when they share their wisdom. The woman you are about to meet is a health and wellness coach, and she has some powerful messages for us about self care and the misconceptions that we all have around what that really means and why it's so important. I want you to meet Colleen Cleary. Welcome, Colleen.
Hi, Elizabeth. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm really looking forward to our conversation today.
Thank you. I'm so excited because you are going to tell us 4 ways to put yourself first. So excited about this because a lot of women feel that we have to take care of everybody else. And then there's this much time, if that, for ourselves. And then there are all these misconceptions about self care being selfish or involving some sort of other activities that aren't necessarily the core of self care. So, Colleen, can you please start by explaining what is self care?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you bring up that there's kind of some misconceptions around self-care. And for sure, what I'm happy to see, there's a lot more conversations around this topic about what does that really mean. So for sure, there's that piece to self-care that we're all familiar with, like take a bubble bath or go to a spa and get a massage and all of that. And those things are wonderful. And if those are in your life, more power to you. I think they're phenomenal. But I also think when we as women are carrying so much on our plate, our schedules are so overflowing, the idea of trying to carve out all of that time or even budget all of the money to cover that seems overwhelming. And so when we see something on Pinterest or hear people talking about self-care this and self-care that, we can start to feel kind of defensive and turned off by that conversation. I really think self-care starts with thinking about what is going to serve you best as an individual. And maybe self-care for you means you're going to start trying to get a good night's sleep. I mean, that's important, right? Maybe
Yes.
you're going to start looking at the food that you're eating and you're going
Mhm,
to add some more green veggies into your day
mhm,
or drink more water because you need to
mhm,
hydrate better. So I
mhm.
think self-care really starts with taking a look at you, where you're at right now, and what do you need to take better care of yourself with. And if it's a
Mhm.
bubble bath, if you've got everything else covered and it's a bubble bath, then I'm all here for that too.
Oh, I love it. So it's like a tailor-made experience for self, for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Because what works for me, what fills my cup, is a long run with girlfriends. Does that mean that I think everybody should go out on a Sunday morning and run 10 miles? No. For many people, they'd be like, that is no, that's not self care. That's like self destruction, right? So you really, it's okay to think about what works best for you.
Yes, I love that so very, very much. And at the core of that, Colleen, making that commitment to time and energy spent on yourself, you're going to tell us 4 ways to put yourself first.
Yes, ma'am, I am. So, the first thing that I always ask people, if you're feeling inspired to make some improvements in your life, whatever those might be, you want to ask yourself why you're feeling that pull now. What is sparking that desire in you? And
Mhm,
here's why I want you to get in touch with that. When we first say, okay, I'm going to do A, B, and C, or I'm going to aim for this goal, or I'm going to make these improvements, there's kind of this new, fresh energy around it.
mm,
You
mhm,
feel motivated, it's kind of exciting. Okay, I'm going to go for it. But at some point, what always happens is real life starts to pile on, like it always
mhm,
does.
mhm,
Your boss is a jerk,
mhm.
or the water heater goes out, or the kids didn't sleep through the night, right? That there's all the real life stuff that we all deal with. As that piles on, if you didn't take the time to figure out why you really want to do this, why you're motivated, it's really easy to let go of making that effort for yourself because change is hard. Change is not easy, or we'd all be doing it, right?
Right.
So, the first thing I really recommend is you carve out a little bit of time and think about, why is this important to me? And again, that's not a one size fits all either. So, that's your first step. Why do you want to do these things? Why is it important to you? And take some time to figure it out. And then bonus points if you write it down. You
Ooh,
write it down, it's a signal to your brain that you're not messing around. You mean
ah,
business.
I love that.
You're not
Okay.
just daydreaming.
Mm-hmm.
You're serious. You're going
Mm-hmm.
for it.
Mm-hmm. All right, excellent. So know your why and write it down.
Yeah, and another great reason for writing it down, couple great reasons. One, you want it where you can revisit it for a reminder, a
Mm-hmm.
refresher. Because
Yes.
again, when life is piling on, it's easy to forget. But if it's written down, you can visit it.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, oftentimes over time, your why might change. Like I've got clients that come to me at the start and they're like, my doctor said I better make some changes or I'm in trouble. That's a big why, right? But then as they're reaching their goals, their why changes. They're not scared of that diagnosis anymore. Now they're looking for what's next. So if you write it down, then you can keep visiting and seeing if it resonates with you.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Excellent. Such strong points and so simple and free. There's no
Yes,
charge.
simple and free, always, always good places to be, right?
Yes.
So the next thing that I really recommend, and this is pretty counterintuitive, especially in the culture that we're in, is I want you to start small and stay small. And that sounds a little silly because we're really taught go big or go home. Go for it, do the big thing, take massive action. The problem with that is for 99% of people, that's not sustainable. Like they'll start out again, you've got that fresh, glittery motivation. It's so exciting and it's hard, but you're all in. You're getting up 2 hours earlier. You're doing that hour workout or, whatever that looks like. But it's not sustainable because you're trying to go from 0 to 60.
Mm.
So instead, the magic really happens if you take just small steps. So for instance, let's say you've decided instead of dragging yourself out of bed after hitting the snooze button 5 times, that you're going to start getting up earlier because maybe you want to do a yoga practice. It's for an example.
Mhm.
If you try and get up an hour earlier and just white knuckle your way through it, after a while, you're going to be like, or you're going to have a day where it's like, I just can't, right? Instead, if you're like, I'm just going to set the alarm for 5 minutes earlier or
Mm.
10 minutes earlier, and you just start out really small, it's so much easier. It's a more gentle approach because we all need gentle right now, right? And you're more likely to show up and do that consistently. And consistency is really, really key when it
Mhm.
comes to making any changes at all.
Yes. Oh, that's powerful.
Yeah.
Powerful.
And
And
go ahead.
I love that you said it's counter to all the messaging that we're getting about, massive action and such, because start small, stay small. It feels like you can do it. You won't get discouraged and give up.
Yeah. And it also, when you start small, and what I mean by stay small is not, okay, I'm going to get up 5 minutes earlier and that's the only change I'm ever going to make. You're just going to build with small additional actions to that. So 5 will become 10 when it's time, 15 minutes, whatever. So that's what I mean by stay small. Continue with small increments of change. The beautiful thing about taking small steps is that it keeps us out of that all or nothing thinking, which is really
Yes.
common. Like if I don't do the hour-long workout, then
Mhm.
what's the point?
Mhm.
Super common. I hear that from women all the time. Well, this is silly. I only got up 5 minutes earlier. That's kind of silly. Well, sure, if that's all you ever do. But again, if you look back over time and you keep doing those small things, they really add up. And
Mhm.
you're more likely to stick with it the long term. So I love small steps. Love them.
Mhm. Excellent advice. I'm gonna do that because I tend to have that all or nothing, and then you don't do the all, and then you're back to nothing, and you're very mad at yourself and frustrated. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and the other thing about small steps is, especially in the beginning, you're trying to actually create almost a new identity for yourself around, I was this person that started, then stopped, then start, then stop, right? That cycle that we've all been through for different things. And instead, you're starting to build this identity of someone that doesn't give up on themselves. And that is very powerful, because then your confidence starts to build up and you're like, oh, I think I can actually do this thing. And you start to see results. So that adds it, and it just keeps that momentum going. Yeah, it's very powerful to go for small steps, for sure.
Mhm. I love that. That's wonderful. I'm going to put that into practice. So
I love
that's
it.
number 2. Excellent.
Yeah, that's number 2. So then the third one is all about your mindset, which kind of goes along with these other ones, right? Like starting small, you've got to shift your mindset around that. Language really, really matters. So how we
Oh.
talk to ourselves
Mhm.
is a really big deal.
Mhm.
It is so common, and we all do it to some degree, about the way that we talk to ourselves in that negative mindset. Like, oh, I didn't do that, or I can't do that, or whatever. We beat ourselves up so much, right? So we really have to take a look at how we talk to ourselves. And the very first piece to that one is just becoming aware. Just
Mhm.
really tuning into, how do I talk to myself? If I show up for that yoga workout and I did 5 minutes instead of the 10 I said I was going to do, what starts happening in my head? Am I beating myself up? Or do I'm like, okay, well, I did my best. Tomorrow's a new day.
Mhm.
It makes a world of difference.
Mhm.
I like to joke and say that if beating yourself up worked, then that's what I would charge people for. I'd be like, okay, pay me money. I'm going to, berate you for 10 minutes and then I'm going to send you on your way. But it doesn't work, right? It just doesn't work.
No.
So there's another thing that goes with mindset is that we can, when we're not super aware, we can kind of go on autopilot. So those thoughts will come up like, oh, you're never going to make it, or here you go
Mm.
again, whatever. And we just accept them as the truth. We don't
Mm.
question them. So once we become aware of them, then we need to start questioning, is that
Mhm.
really true? And see where you go with
Wow.
that.
So this is really, really powerful, Colleen, because a lot of times that negative self-talk is so deeply ingrained, we don't even hear it. We just respond to it by feeling bad. So how do you become aware? How do you do
One of
that?
the easiest ways to start building awareness is a meditation practice. And I'm not
Mm.
talking like, for an hour or anything like that. Again, you can start small. But a meditation practice really strengthens your awareness muscle. And when I'm talking about meditation, there's guided meditations, and I think there's lots of great ones. There's apps for that. There's all kinds of stuff out there to help you with it. I found personally, and for my clients, the most powerful thing to do is just set aside some time, set a timer so you don't keep like, is it over yet? Good grief, how
Mhm.
long do I have to sit here? Right? Because
Mhm.
that's me. I'm not super good at sitting still. So
Mhm.
set a timer, 5-10 minutes, and then just sit quietly and like focus on your breathing. Just sit and take some deep breaths and focus on it. At the very least, you're going to calm your nervous system down because you're slowing down and taking some breaths. But what happens over time is you start to notice, because thoughts will come up. It'll be like squirrels in there, right? Like, oh, I forgot that on the grocery list. I got to make sure I pick that
Mhm.
up, right? Like all the stuff. And you
Mhm.
don't fight that. You just let those thoughts come up and you're like, oh, there's that thought. I've heard it described as kind of like watching cute little clouds go floating by. You see the thought and you just go, okay, there goes the thought. And then you refocus on your breath. It's as simple as
Wow.
that, but it
Huh.
really starts to build strength around noticing your thought patterns
Mhm.
throughout your day, not just while you're sitting there quietly. So I will tell you, when
Wow.
it comes to starting small, because I don't like to sit still, I started out with a 3-minute timer. I barely got
Mm.
comfortable. The timer would go off. I'm like, okay, I'm done for the day. But then I slowly kept bumping it up. So that is like my number
Wow.
one recommendation if you want to be more aware about the negative thoughts in your head.
Wow, that's really fascinating. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. And you're not kidding when you say start small and you say 3 minutes, because everyone has 3 minutes.
Yeah. And, again, is 3 minutes by itself going to be super effective? Probably not. I mean, it's more than zero, right? So,
Right.
so there's a step, but it was so easy that there was never a question about whether or not I was going to show up.
Yes.
That's,
See?
of course, I'm going to do 3 minutes. So I'll sit. The other beautiful thing that can happen when you sit down, let's say for your 3 minutes, you're like, well, I'm already here. I might as well do 5, right? Because it's
Oh.
always that first piece. Just showing up is the hardest part.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there was no way I wouldn't show up for 3 minutes.
Wow. That is very, very powerful. The word mindfulness and awareness, and now this becoming like noticing thoughts like clouds. That is phenomenal. I love that imagery.
Yeah,
Thank you
well,
for
it's
that,
not mine
Colleen.
originally, but I really love it too, because I used to have this misconception about meditation that the goal was to sit and clear all the thoughts out of my head, just to be like a blank slate. And I was like, that's never going to happen, right? Like that just seemed, and I'm not saying it's impossible. It seemed insurmountable to me. I was like,
Mhm.
I don't know how you would. First of all, I don't sit still much. And now I'm going to put all the thoughts out of my head. But that's not actually the goal, or doesn't have to be the goal. It's
Mhm.
just building awareness
Mhm.
around your thought patterns and being able to notice them, and then hopefully question and see if they're really serving you too.
Mm. And so for the whole notion of putting yourself first, becoming aware of your thoughts can always, well, I know personally, sometimes my thoughts have been about other people and doing what I need to do for them and for putting myself last. So that mindfulness and awareness helps, well, it helped me figure out, wait a minute, I need to do me first, and then I can tend to these other things.
Yes, 100%. So it's funny because today in my wellness group, I put a poll out to the women. I said, okay, getting interviewed, we're talking about putting yourself first. I want to know, what do you think about when I say that? What's your challenge? Whatever. And a couple different women were like, it's kind of like that old adage of like, you put your own oxygen mask on
Yes.
first, right?
Yes. Yes.
You do. And
Mhm.
for women, though, man, that is tough. We convince ourselves that maybe there will be time for me after I take care of all the other things and everyone else first. But it's pretty rare that there's
Mhm.
time left over, let's be honest.
Right. Right.
Because there's always more that we can be doing,
Mhm.
always. Things are
Mhm.
never 100% finished. So I like to say, are you even on the to-do list? And if you are you down at the bottom? Probably. It's very common.
Oh my goodness. Wow. That's why many women do their self-care regimen first. If it's going to be something in the morning, if it's going to be a meditation or yoga or workout, run, go to the gym when they're open or whatever you do for yourself. So you do that first, and sometimes before the kids or anybody else gets up, right?
100%. That is always, it doesn't always work for people's schedules, depending on what their lives look like, right? Still not a one size fits all. But generally speaking, the things that are most important to you that you for sure don't want to miss, you're more likely to accomplish them if it's first thing in the morning. Because think about it, the second you connect with the outside world, the emails, the phone messages, the texts, the to-do lists, all the people that you're caring for, as soon as those demands start coming in at you, it is so easy to blow off, oh, never mind. Even if you don't attend to them, you give your energy to them. So
Mm.
it can be really magical to not plug into anything until you've done at least a good 20, 30 minutes of
Yes.
time for yourself.
Mhm.
Um, Not always doable for everybody, can seem like a big obstacle, but it makes a big difference. If you just quietly ease into your day and it's all about you first, and
Mhm.
then you plug into everything else later, big deal. Yeah,
Mm.
and I've been doing wellness for a long time, and I will tell you, if on occasion when I go, okay, not this morning, I'll do it like on my lunch hour. It's way harder to get it done on the lunch hour
Oh,
because now I'm going,
wow.
oh, but then there's this and there's that, right? Because then I
Mhm.
start feeling all of the demands. So, and
Oh.
not that the demands are bad. All those things on my schedule, I said yes to them. So I don't have any complaints, but I just
Mhm.
find with my mindset, it's much harder to break away from it and do those
Mm.
things.
Excellent. Excellent. So what's another way that we can put ourselves first?
So the next one I want to talk about, the fourth one, and I love this one. A client actually shared this with me from a new moms group that she was in. They had a counselor come and talk to them about, okay, you got this new baby, what life looks like and all that. And her phrase was, get comfortable with your compromises.
Ooh.
Oh, I love this so much.
Wow.
Right? Like, let's all deep breath on that one, right?
Yes.
So, because again, as women, we're trying to carry so much and we really want to do 100% for everything that we show up for. That's our desire, right? Something's got to give. So when you say yes to, let's say that morning routine, let's say it's going to be meditation practice 15 minutes. When you say yes to that, then you're saying no to something else. Maybe you're saying no to that snooze button 5 times. Maybe you're saying no to that preschooler who's like, hey, come watch a show with me. Maybe you're saying no to something else. But be comfortable with that. Be okay with it not all being perfect or getting all of your energy all of the time. When I was thinking about this one, I thought about, so I've been a distance runner for over 10 years, probably closer to 13 years now. My kiddos are now older. My youngest is 19, but I started distance running then when the kids were young. And it meant that I had to have my partner, like, you're there with the kids so I can run or run while they're in school, whatever. There has never been a time that I've ever looked back from when those kids were young and thought, you know what I really wish? I wish I would have done more dishes. And I wish I would have kept on the laundry better. You just don't. You're never going to look back and wish the house was cleaner or whatever. But I sure would be sad if I had missed out on running and connecting with my running girlfriends or training for races. That experience and what it's done for me, I wouldn't want to have missed out on that. So I was comfortable with my compromises. Was my house spotless? No. I have never heard from my children, gosh, Mom, like the laundry was kind of not so great. I didn't care. So you got to get comfortable with your compromises. Maybe you're going to say no to less time on social media. Maybe you're saying no to some commitments that you've made. That's okay. Gotta put yourself first. You've just gotta.
Yes. And why is that so important right now during the pandemic when there are so many dynamics happening?
So many. Oh my gosh, right? So it was really, really important before the pandemic. It's even more so. I think one of the easiest ways for women to start doing this is because we're pretty hardwired generally to show up for others before ourselves. If we remember that when I take care of myself first, then all the other roles that I play, whether I'm an employee or a boss or a business owner, a partner, a sibling, a parent, a friend, like, think of all the roles that women play. If we put ourselves first, we show up a much better version of ourselves in all those other roles, and we can do a better job. We have more energy, we have more focus, we feel more positive, we bring a better energy to those roles.
Yes.
So we're actually helping all of those other people in our lives by giving them a better version of ourselves.
Oh.
So I find that that's a really powerful way for women to start looking at this and getting committed to doing it for themselves. Ultimately, in my book, I think you need to show up for yourself, even if it only benefits you. Even if it doesn't benefit anybody else, that's okay. You are worth the benefit.
Yes.
Just you by yourself. It's okay.
Yes.
During the pandemic, wow.
Yes.
Right? Ladies, like, I take phenomenal care of myself in all the areas of wellness, and I feel it. I have those days where it's heavy here, right?
Yes.
So when you are taking care of yourself, though, those times where it feels hopeless and helpless and overwhelming are much less frequent. And you can kind of look at it and go, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be all right, because I've been getting enough sleep. I get my workouts done. I get my creative time done. I get all of those things that fill me up.
Mhm.
I'm really focused on those.
Mhm.
When lockdown started, which it's crazy to think of how long it's been going, but when it started, one of the very first things I did is I took a little slip of paper and I wrote down what are my non-negotiables every single day that are going to get me through this just as an individual. And I put it on my whiteboard over my desk. And it said things like yoga, get outside, laugh. So I find like a funny YouTube video or whatever every single day, connect with a friend. I just made a little list and it was on the whiteboard so I could check it off every day. Just,
Mm.
okay, let's make sure we do these things every day and then we're going to get through this. So,
Phenomenal. It's so simple and it makes such a big difference.
yeah, and it's a visual reminder, which I'm a huge fan of visual reminders because, again, it's really easy to lose focus and forget. But if
Mhm.
it's right there where you can see it every day, you're, oh, that's right. I better go watch some funny cat video or something. I'm
Right.
gonna
Yes.
intentionally set aside time to giggle today. So,
Yes.
yeah, visual reminders make a big difference.
Wow. And Colleen, what message regarding all this do you have for women business owners, especially solopreneurs or entrepreneurs?
Oh boy, it's a lot to own your own business. It's a lot, right? I've been in it for a little over 5 years now. It's so much. If you're not going to take care of yourself, I really don't know how your business is really going to thrive because you are your business in a lot of ways. The energy that you bring to it. So, the energy that I bring to my client sessions, the energy I bring for conversations like this, all of those things, I don't know how you show up and give 100% to your business and get it to thrive
Mhm.
without taking care of you. And it's
Mhm.
really easy because, especially when you're first starting, you're doing all the things. You're the bookkeeper, you're the social media manager, you know, like, right? You do all the stuff.
Mhm.
So it can feel like you must put in hours until midnight every night, 8 days a week, and whatever. But how sustainable is that? The other thing I would ask you if you're doing that, is that joyful for you? Right? I mean, like, many of us go into business for ourselves because working for others or whatever just wasn't really serving us. We felt called to do something more, something different. And yet you're burning yourself out. So, we're talking about we've got time freedom and I set my own hours and my own income and all of that. And yet I do meet a lot of entrepreneurs who are just burning it hard. There are times there can be, short, like you've got a project. Okay, I see that. But big picture, please take care of yourselves. Please, please,
Mm.
please. Because we need you too. We need your gifts as an entrepreneur. And if you burn out and shut your doors, then we're missing out.
Oh, powerful. I love the way you shift ideas around and you're creating all these mind shifts tonight. I love it. Thank you, Colleen.
Of
If
course.
Mhm. How can people work with you? Do you work one-on-one or in groups or both?
So currently for my coaching, and what I will tell you what I do as a health coach, because health coaching is still a relatively new addition to the wellness community. There are health coaches that specialize in lots of different areas. The area that I specialize in is helping my clients create habits that are sustainable so they can reach their wellness goals and keep their results.
Mm.
And I came to that because when I first started coaching fresh out of my program, I was all about the food on your plate, which is a big piece to your wellness. So is sleep, so is hydration, exercise, all of that. But I quickly discovered that we can talk all day long about you saying you want to eat more green vegetables, but you're not going to show up and do it if I don't help you figure out how to make a habit out of it. So I geek out on habit formation and how to keep them going. That's my specialty. So to work with me, I do one-on-one coaching, which is very popular. It's weekly coaching sessions. You check in with me and tell me how it's going. I give you some homework. And then we have an accountability schedule because that's a really big piece when people are first getting started. someone holding them accountable, because they're not quite ready to show up just for themselves. But they know if the coach is watching, they're like, okay, Colleen's going to be checking in. I better do that thing, right?
Right.
So that's one-on-one coaching. Then I also have something newer called duet sessions. I love duet sessions, and I did not even come up with this idea on my own. I had two young women come to me and say, Colleen, can we work with you, but can we do it together? We've been trying to hold each other accountable and it's not working. So I was
Wow.
like, well, let's try it out. Who am I to say no? And it's amazing
Wow.
because there's another level of connection and accountability, encouragement, support, right? Because they're doing it together. So they're sharing that journey. They get to check in with each other in between sessions, as well as working with me. It's magical. Plus, the coaching sessions, they get to split the cost 50-50. And for a lot of people, that's also very helpful. So
Mm,
duet sessions are magical. They've got
mm.
such great energy around them, and I really, really love them.
Wow, that's
And then last but not least, if people are like, that's amazing, my budget says no, I have an ongoing wellness community over on Facebook that they can join for free. Lots of free challenges and great content there.
excellent. I'll make certain to put the links to your Facebook group as well as your website in the description box so people can contact you and learn more and possibly work with you.
That would be fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome, Colleen. Your ideas are so innovative. I've learned so much this evening. I really appreciate you sharing this.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. That is like, we were talking a little before we started recording about just making a positive change in the world. One
Mhm.
person at a time, several people at a
Yes.
time, whatever. That's
Mhm.
my happy place too.
Oh, it's beautiful. And your advice is so powerful and so wise. So thank you for sharing 4 ways that we can put ourselves first. And that's how we make the world a better place because we're operating at optimum capacity.
Yes, so true. I agree.
Mhm. All right. Thank you, Colleen. I wish you the absolute best.
Thank you. You too, Elizabeth. I
You're
really
welcome.
enjoyed our conversation.
Yes, me too. And thank you, all of you, for joining me here on Boss Up Goddess, because Colleen Cleary just shared 4 powerful ways that you can put yourself first so you can be your best and live bigger, better, and bolder to boss up and be the goddess in mind, body, and spirit that you are born to be. I'm Elizabeth Ann Atkins, and I want you to remember you have the power. I'll see you next time.